Hey everybody, Mark coming at you. Wanted to talk about some stuff in these weird and difficult times. Not going to let any of the stupidness of what's going on detract from my mission and this channel's mission. Wanted to still talk with you guys about some comedy related stuff. Today we're going to be addressing a question that I deal with a lot and get asked a lot and actually have to consider myself a lot, which is who is a comedian writing for? Writing is the most important thing that we do. There are comics that'll say that they get up on stage and just wing the whole thing, but that is never true. Even if they're not putting pen to paper, there's always a constant internal process of writing, processing, figuring out what we want to talk about and how we want to talk about it. So let's talk about writing specifically right now. Something that I'm sure a lot of comedians are hopefully doing more of while we have so much free and downtime. First thing to acknowledge about writing: who is the audience? Some people will say that you are writing only for yourself. Write what you need, write what you want. Others will argue that laughter is currency in this game. So you need to write for the audience. They're both legitimate points to make from a purely performing arts standpoint. On the one hand, you have the art. The most important thing is to make the art that you want to make. But that may not be able to be received by other people. On the other side, you've got the concept that art that never gets seen or heard or interacted with by anybody, it's nice, but what is the value of unconsumable art other than as a thought exercise? It makes it difficult. It makes it difficult to decide how you're writing and who you're writing for. Before we get into that, let's talk about writing in general. First thing to note: what is writing? It's the process of changing and crafting jokes. It's what really separates comedians from this one funny friend that I have. The truth is, a lot of people out there are funny. A lot of people are funny. You have funny friends, you have funny family members. Maybe you're funny in conversation. You know exactly the right word to say or the right face to make other people laugh. Funny is out there. But being a comedian takes a lot more. Being a comedian is about taking a funny concept, a joke, an idea, an action, whatever it may be, and figuring out how to distill it properly to be consumed by others. Jokes live in the world of someone having to laugh at them. It's one of those things where it's like, if a tree falls in the forest and there's no one around to see it, do the other trees have somebody to elbow and point and laugh and be like, yo, dude, you see that tree fall down? There needs to be a receiving medium for comedy, for people to interact with it being funny. Now, yeah, you can make yourself laugh with a whole lot of things, but if you do something that only makes yourself laugh that won't make anyone else laugh, can it really still be defined as comedy? For a lot of people, the answer to that would be no. There are certainly arguments out there that one makes something for themselves that they find amusing that nobody else really finds funny. And as time and tastes change, as culture evolves or sometimes devolves, that thing is considered funny now. A great example of that is the book Don Quixote. Don Quixote was originally written as a comedy. It was supposed to make fun of and highlight all of these silly, stupid points that people were romanticizing. Cliches now of an idiot trying to be a hero. It was comedy. But a few hundred years after the book was made, a lot of people don't find it funny anymore as much as they do poignant. The view on the art has changed. And that can happen sometimes. Ultimately, the argument being made at the end of the day is, what do you want your comedy to do? If you want to write jokes that are only for a very small niche group of people, if you just want every single person out there who sits on Reddit forums reading Farscape fanfic to get this one joke, nobody else, you can do that. You can write jokes like that. But you also can't get upset when people who've never heard of Farscape before or don't troll Reddit don't find it funny. However, on the other hand, if you're only writing jokes with the idea of them being properly litmus tested and polled for widest possible appeal, something you don't find funny or interesting, but you have the feeling that other people will, then you're being a little disingenuous to the art. You're really not reaching out there and trying to be funny as much as you are just trying to make other people think that it's funny. So where does the process of writing actually start? Well, like with all things, it starts with a spark. Maybe you see something, hear something, think something, feel something, show something. Maybe someone else says something and you think of something that was something else that they could have said or done or what have you. It lights a spark. Whatever that might be, you move it. You take it from its starting place and you move it into a way that can be consumed by others. Maybe it was something that happened to somebody else and they reacted in one way, but that way isn't as funny as another way that they could have reacted. So you think about, what would that have been like if it happened to me? And I thought of this thing. The truth is, there are thousands of different places that a joke can come from. Thousands of different original moving points. And thousands of ways that you can then address that joke to try to make it funny for other people. The process starts the same. One of the things that I found in writing comedy is a simple rule. Every single joke does one of two things after the introduction of the premise. It either continues to follow out to its next logical conclusion, or it takes an abrupt turn to absurdity. What does that mean? That means either you start talking about A, bring up the point you want to make, and then make a silly, sarcastic remark about B, and C, and D. You continue on the story, the methodology, the thinking, the tags that relate back to the premise, but all of them tie back logically and sequentially to what it is you're talking about. The second option is the abrupt turn to absurdity, where you set out a clear and concise path about what it is you're talking about, how it's going to proceed, what sort of things you're discussing, and then find a way to turn it on its heel and address something completely unrelated, yet somehow still related enough that it makes sense. So for an example of a next logical conclusion joke, here's one of mine. I think it's great that online dating sites have tailored themselves so much to whatever it is you're looking for. Like whatever your bag, whatever your kink, there's an online dating site for that. It's like if you think that math and science is the perfect way to find your perfect someone, there's eharmony.com. Maybe that's not you. Maybe you're a redneck and you're looking online for another redneck. AutoTrader. It's an example of a joke that starts with a simple premise. Online dating sites have all of these resources for finding very specific types of people. Then I introduce a fairly innocuous one that isn't even necessarily that funny. eharmony.com. Then I continue on the joke, introducing another possible alternative. That is following a joke out to its next logical conclusion. Here's an example of a joke that I do that just takes a turn to absurdity. I heard recently that Pokemon Go is going to be expanding its game to now allow you to start breeding Pokemon, which I think is great. Not because I enjoy the game, but because I think the religious right is going to lose their shit. This is exactly the kind of thing they get geared up for. When this comes out, every street corner in America is going to have some preacher on it screaming, "Pokemons is an abomination! The Bible says, Mankey shall not lie with Mankey. God created Adam and Eve, not Ash and Evie. Tell me this, Mr. Science Man, if a Pikachu evolves into a Raichu, how come we can still find Pikachus?" In that joke, I led you down a very specific path. I am talking about the video game Pokemon Go and its new system. But instead of talking about the game or talking about the mechanics, social implications, public reception, I started all of a sudden talking about a Southern preacher. This is one of those places where you introduce a very clear and concise direction that a joke is going, and then kick it to a turn to absurdity. Ultimately, every single joke ever written in any comedic form, stand-up, sketch, improv, they all do a version of this. Understanding which one you want understanding which one you want your joke to do is a really good way of ensuring that your writing is more concise and help you proceed with the creation of a joke. One of the hardest things with writing jokes is that we need something to bounce them off of to tell where it changes and how it works. Comedy is unlike any other art. If you're a painter, you sit down somewhere, you get out your paints, your canvas, whatever your medium you're working on is, and you paint something, and you paint it, and you paint it. And when the painting is done, you present it. If you're a musician, you write a song, either on your own or collaborating with others. You tweak the song, you play around with the song, then you write the song, and then you perform the song. Comedy is absolutely reliant on you writing a joke, and then putting that joke out there for public consumption, and then rewriting the joke based on how the public reacts to it. Maybe they love it. Maybe it's great. Maybe the joke doesn't get a laugh. Maybe it gets laughs at one part but not another, or the crowd reacts in a way that you aren't expecting at a weird point in the joke. You go back, you rewrite, you change, you edit, you tweak, you move stuff around. You change cadences, the speed at which you deliver it. Maybe you get quieter at one part. Maybe you get louder at another. Maybe you take a word and move it from the middle of a sentence to the end, or drop the end of a sentence entirely. You keep moving the joke around until it gets exactly what you want it to get. And then you decide whether you want to add more parts on or take more parts off. You got to run your jokes by somebody, and in the world that we live in right now, that's really hard to do. The one bit of advice that I can definitely give is do not run jokes by your friends. Family, coworkers, people who know you. They are the worst people to run new jokes by because they are coming in with a whole lot of excess baggage. They know you. There's a lot of things that go into our concepts of what's funny and why something can be amusing. People who know you really well, when they hear you tell a joke, there are processes going on behind the scenes that we're not even aware of. Oh man, that's just like Mark. Oh God, that reminds me of this time that Mark and I went and did this thing. Yeah, no, that's super funny. People who are close to you are not the same as an audience, which is made up of strangers who don't know you, haven't heard of you, have no concept of what it is you're going to be bringing to them. Just because something makes all of your friends laugh does not mean that it's going to make an audience laugh. Especially for newer comedians who haven't had a chance to really get a feel for this whole process yet, running jokes by friends and family and people you know really well can not always have the most productive results. So what does this ultimately bring us back to? The question of the hour. Who are you writing these jokes for? Are they for you or are they for the audience? We'll never actually get a definitive answer to this, but if you want my 2 cents, it's this. You're writing for both. Ultimately, it is vitally important for you, the artist, the performer, to write jokes that you find funny. Things that you like, things you want to talk about, things you can invest in. Because trust me, if the joke is any good at all, you're going to be saying it a lot. Like, a lot. You're going to be getting up and practicing it for days, weeks, months sometimes until you get it exactly how you want it. You're going to be putting it into sets that you're going to be doing at shows and clubs and wherever else. You're going to be saying these jokes a lot. It helps if it's something that you actually like, something you actually believe in, something you can actually emotionally sell to the audience that you really, really think this is funny. One of the core parts of any joke is that people have to buy the premise to buy the bit. If you can't sell the premise of the joke, then nobody's going to buy the punchline. So if the joke is about you really hating something and you don't actually hate it, or even worse, are totally indifferent to it, it's going to be pretty hard to sell to the crowd just how much you hate this thing and why they should think that it's funny that you hate it. On the other hand, it doesn't do anyone any good to only do jokes that you know everyone who hears it are going to hate. There's a lot of people out there, usually people who you can find with free time on most show nights because they're not getting booked, who think that any reaction is as good as a laugh. A boo, an a gross. They think those are just as good as getting a laugh from an audience. And if you're a performance artist, maybe, but not if you're a comedian. We have to dissuade ourselves of this concept that any reaction is a good reaction, because it's not. Not for comedy, anyway. So, what do? Who do you write for? I guess if we had to put it in an order, you start writing for yourself. But after you've already developed material, after you've worked on jokes and you've gotten there, if you've got 10 jokes, 5 of which you think are really funny and the audience likes, and 5 of which that you think are funny but the audience doesn't like, you mostly go with the ones the audience like. You want them to react positively to your material. That's what makes them want to stay and watch the rest of your material. At the very least, watch the comic after you. Driving people out of a room with bad jokes doesn't make you a better comedian. It just kind of makes you a douche. On the other hand, if you've got 5 jokes that you really like but audiences don't, and 5 jokes that you don't like but audiences do, I think the best scenario that you can engage with there is write more jokes. Come up with stuff that both of you can enjoy. That's the key to writing for comedy and having any sort of longevity in this game. Guys, I hope you enjoyed what I've been talking about today, addressing some stuff with writing and creativity. Make sure to follow me on Facebook, facebook.com/Mark Viola Comedy. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Mark Viola Comedy. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe for this channel. I desperately need the assistance. I can't even brand my channel until I'm at 100 subscribers, so I'm really needing you guys to lend me a hand here. If you have anything, throw it down in the comments section. Make sure to share this video with others. And guys, I want to hear the feedback from you. So slide into DMs, comment on any of my social media pages or anything. Let me know what you thought about this, if you'd like to hear me talk more about these types of things, or if you want to hear me address other topics. I'm always open for what you guys want to hear. Anyway, thanks. Bye.